So let's talk about one of the biggest paradoxes in business. Something that's kind of wild when you think about it. How the very success that builds an empire can become the single biggest thing holding it back. We're going to dive into the terrifying but absolutely necessary art of strategic reinvention. And this quote, it just nails the whole problem, doesn't it? It's a huge warning against getting too comfortable, against clinging to that winning formula for just a little too long. Because, in a world that's always changing, the very strategies that brought you all your success can quietly become the seeds of your own downfall. And this is exactly what we're talking about. It's what happens when a company gets so good, so dialed in at winning a particular game that it completely fails to notice that the game itself has changed. That early success, it creates this kind of comfortable prison, making it almost impossible to see what's coming right around the corner. And you know who fell right into this trap? Yahoo. I mean, they're the classic example. Back in '98, they were the undisputed kings of the internet. But they never really figured out their endgame. Were they a media company, a tech company? By trying to be everything to everyone, they ended up being nothing special to anyone. And their focus was so adrift that in 2002, they actually passed on buying Google for just $3 billion. Think about that. Their own success made them blind. And this leads to a really specific kind of failure, something we call the optimization trap. This is when you're in that dangerous spot of making your product absolutely perfect for a market that is actively disappearing. You become incredibly efficient at doing something that nobody wants anymore. Just look at BlackBerry. In 2007, they were on top of the world. But then the iPhone launched. And what did BlackBerry do? They doubled down on what made them successful in the first place: better physical keyboards and more secure email. They achieved total operational excellence at perfecting a product for a game that Apple had just declared was over. While BlackBerry was busy optimizing, Apple was redefining the entire industry from the ground up. Okay, so if success is this giant trap, how in the world do you get out? Well, it takes something that is incredibly hard to do. Having the courage to let go of your past, even when that past is still making you money. It means you have to make a pivotal and often really painful decision. Check out this question. It's what Andy Grove, the CEO of Intel, asked his team when they were in a total crisis. See, Japanese competitors were just destroying their core business, which was memory chips. And Grove and his team, well, they were paralyzed. This question was absolute genius because it forced them to step outside of themselves, outside their own identity, and think like a completely detached, objective outsider. And the answer? Whoa, it came back instantly, and it was brutal. Grove knew that an outsider, someone without all the emotional baggage, would make the tough call in a heartbeat. They would abandon the very business that had defined Intel for 15 years. It was the obvious answer, obvious to literally everyone except the insiders who had built the empire in the first place. But, making the decision is one thing. Surviving what comes next is a whole other story. When Reed Hastings pivoted Netflix away from its super profitable DVD business and into streaming, everybody thought he was insane. I mean, he was choosing to cannibalize his own cash cow. Wall Street hammered the stock, and his own employees were asking, why are we destroying the one thing that's working? He saw the future, but first, he had to go through the pain of letting go. All right, this all leads us to our main story today, a company that truly had the courage to just start over. When Satya Nadella took over as CEO of Microsoft, his first big move wasn't just some strategic shift. No, it was basically an act of heresy against the company's entire identity. And to really get how shocking this was, you have to understand where Microsoft was at the time. They'd been through a lost decade. This company that once ruled the world of computing was bleeding talent, it was losing relevance, its stock price was flat, it had completely missed the boat on mobile and was super skeptical of the cloud. They were a legacy giant, just slowly fading. So what does Nadella do? His first big move? Something absolutely unthinkable. He announced that Microsoft Office, their crown jewel, would launch on Apple's iPad before it came to their own Windows devices. This just flew in the face of decades of company dogma. It was a massive signal that the whole Windows First era was officially over. The entire company identity was about to change, right then and there. And the reaction inside Microsoft? Pure shock. I mean, you can hear it in this quote from their own engineers. To them, this was basically treason. They were built from the ground up to compete with Apple, not to empower them. Nadella wasn't just changing a product roadmap. He was challenging the very soul of the company. So,
That incredibly painful, almost heretical decision, that was just the first step. The first step in forging a brand new identity for Microsoft. So what happened? What were the results of that reinvention? What happens when a company really truly finds the guts to let go and start over?
Well, the transformation was total. The old Microsoft was like a fortress, built around Windows, competing with absolutely everyone. The new Microsoft is a platform, focused on the cloud and mobile, and partnering with everyone. Yeah, even their biggest rivals. They completely shifted from selling one-time software licenses to selling ongoing subscriptions and services. And the payoff for all that pain, for that pivot? Well, after a whole decade of going nowhere, Microsoft's valuation just exploded. They didn't just survive, they reinvented themselves and became one of the most valuable companies in the world all over again. And this is the direct result of having the courage to throw away a successful past to build a much more relevant future. So, we'll end with a question for you to think about. Every success, whether it's a company's business model or your own career, it builds a powerful engine. It's optimized, it's efficient, and it's what got you here. But the most crucial question you have to keep asking yourself is this: is that engine still pointed in the right direction for the road that lies ahead?